And welcome back to Big Board Sports on 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio. We follow Mike and Mike, take you right up to Han and Humpty. Nice to have you with us this morning as we make our way around NFL training camps. Let's make a stop to the New England Patriots. They are next up, and Kevin Duffy joins us of MassLive.com with lots going on with the New England Patriots. We welcome Kevin to Big Board Sports this morning. Good morning, Kevin. Rodger, Wyland in Albany. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good, Rodger. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Let's start with this Gronk story. Gronkowski, you're at camp. What happened to Gronk? What was the injury, and is it serious, or is everything all right?
I'm not sure what the nature of the injury was. In terms of the severity, from several reports from Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, probably the two most plugged-in national reporters on the NFL, said it was a minor injury. It looked like it could have been as simple as, it was a 95-degree day. He kind of pulled up and stopped short in his route, and he didn't ever really get examined by the trainers. He just left the field with the trainer. He wasn't even limping necessarily. He was just kind of walking slowly. If I had to speculate, I could say that it might have been something like he felt the early signs of a cramp in his hamstring or something like that. It didn't look very serious.
Well, that's good because we've been down the road with injuries before with Gronk, and we know what that means for New England, and probably outside of Tom Brady, right? It's the player that they can least afford to lose.
Yeah, it's close between Gronkowski and honestly probably Edelman, because last year before last year, everyone put Gronk as that number 2 guy behind Tom Brady who they could least afford to lose. But when Edelman went down, really their offense changed. They could no longer throw those quick 6-8 yard passes where Brady gets the ball out of his hands to Edelman, because they didn't have a guy who could get open as quickly as Edelman could. So I would put Gronkowski and Edelman kind of in the 2. They're interchangeable at 2 and 3, and I think this year, God forbid for the Patriots, if something does happen to Gronkowski, they do have Martellus Bennett, who is a pretty damn good tight end.
All right, let's localize this New England Patriots storyline for us here in Albany. Our Albany guy, Dion Lewis, running back, injured last year. We heard he was pretty healthy going into camp. What's his status? How do you think he's going to be utilized as we close in on the start of a new season?
It's a good question. Dion Lewis was here at OTAs on June 13th, not even 7 months out of ACL surgery, and he was cutting pretty hard off that left knee. He was moving laterally pretty well. He was ahead of, in my opinion, where people are normally at the 6 month mark, or at the 7 month mark of ACL surgery. Strangely, we have not seen Dion Lewis once in training camp. There are 4 players that remain on the PUP list. 3 of them come to practice and observe practice, just kind of in their jersey and shorts, not in pads or anything. But Lewis hasn't been seen the whole time. From what I understand, the Patriots are just taking it very slowly, very cautiously with Dion Lewis. He is such an important part of what they do. He changed their offense last year. Going into last year, people were worried up here or down here that they would greatly miss Shane Vereen. Dion Lewis signs, and people forgot about Shane Vereen in 3 minutes. Lewis is incredible. So I think that they're just being really cautious with him. And I think that the longer we go in camp without seeing him, the possibility remains, I guess, that he might open the season on PUP, which would keep him out until week 7. And to me, that wouldn't be that terrible of a move for the Patriots, because they're going to need their guys in the home stretch in week 7 through, hopefully for them, the Super Bowl. So, and it also gives Lewis an extra month and a half out of the ACL surgery. So that's one of the more interesting storylines, obviously for you guys locally, but for us covering the team here in New England, because it's kind of mysterious what's going on right now.
Kevin, Brady here. Let's stick with injuries, moving over to the defensive side. What's going on with Rob Ninkovich, and how big an impact is his injury on that defensive side of the ball?
Ninkovich got a torn triceps, does not require surgery, and I believe the reported timetable for him was somewhere around the 1 month mark. So maybe he'll miss a game or two, but he'll probably be back at some point early in the season. And Ninkovich has been a great, versatile player for them for a number of years. but that's a position where they can absorb a loss, an injured player, because they have so much depth there. They signed Chris Long, who has had 2 down years and 2 injured years in St. Louis, but looks pretty good. He looks healthy and explosive off the ball right now. They signed Shea McClellan from Chicago, who has somewhat of a similar skill set to Ninkovich. They have Jabal Sheard. They have this kid, Trey Flowers, who they drafted a year ago, who basically redshirted, but has looked great so far in camp. So, I mean, they have bodies there, so it's really not. They can move on. It would be bad if Ninkovich was gone for the season, but if you're talking about missing only a few weeks, it's not going to really have that much of an impact.
We're talking Patriots football here on Big Board Sports this morning. Kevin Duffy of MassLive.com joins myself, Brady Farkas, as we get through training camp and now into the second preseason games. How's Jimmy Garoppolo looking here, Kevin? Right, that's the big story. He's going to start at quarterback for the first 4 weeks. Are they going to go undefeated with Jimmy? 2-2, 3-1. I mean, what are you seeing so far out of Garoppolo?
Garoppolo has had what I would call an uneven training camp. He looked pretty good at the beginning of camp. It looked like he had made some real progress from last summer. You know, it looks like he's kind of, I don't want to say he's regressed in the last couple of weeks, but he's struggled a little bit. Like he's held on to the ball a little bit too long. He's going through his reads a little too slowly, it seems. He doesn't look as in command and as comfortable as he did earlier in camp. And in the preseason game, he was okay at best. Like he wasn't. He made one really nice throw. He made one terrible decision. Did a lot of mediocre things in between those 2 plays. The Patriots, with him, I think that they're looking at maybe 3-1 as a best case scenario. Winning at Arizona on the road in primetime in week 1 is not going to be an easy feat. I don't think it would be an easy feat even if they had Tom Brady for that game. Then they have 3 straight home games against Miami, Houston, and then Buffalo. I could see them losing one of those games, dropping to 2-2. So I think Patriots are probably looking at best case 3-1, probably 2-2. Jimmy does have a good supporting cast, though. He's got obviously great skill players on offense, and they have a defense that should be one of the league's 5 or 6 best units this year.
Kevin, what went on yesterday between the Patriots and the Bears in this joint practice? Bill Belichick threw Malcolm Butler out of practice during this thing?
Yeah, they have a rule here. You get in a fight during practice, your practice is over. So Malcolm Butler and Alshon Jeffrey, the Bears receiver, got into it. You know, they were kind of in each other's faces, definitely like talking, having words after the play. And then it's a situation where those things normally kind of diffuse and people move on to the next play, but it looked like, I mean, they kept going and Butler swung and both teams kind of converged, and it looked for a second like it was going to turn into like an all-out brawl between both teams, and that didn't really happen. And kind of after about 10 seconds of both teams really on each other, everyone kind of separated and the practice continued. It's the rule that Belichick has. I think he appreciates the competitive fire, but doesn't appreciate the lack of professionalism, I guess, in getting in a fight. What Belichick views as like this is a teaching session. Like we're the Bears here to give us a different look. Like the Patriots don't have Alshon Jeffrey on their team. It's highly beneficial for Malcolm Butler to practice as much as possible against Alshon Jeffrey, and I don't think Belichick wants those guys getting in fights.
Hey, one more from me, Kevin. Let you go. How do you see this division without Tom Brady and Garoppolo starting the first 4 games? Obviously, it evens the playing field a little bit, but do you still see the Patriots as the the head of the class, total number 1 team, still dominant number 1 in that AFC East? Do you think the gap has narrowed a little bit?
I obviously think they're the best team in the division. I think that they probably have the best roster in the NFL. Definitely the AFC. I think that the class of the AFC. With that said, Brady out 4 games does kind of level the playing field, so to speak. I think if the Pats get off to like a 2-2 start, it's possible that they go 11-5, maybe. Still a chance they go 12-4. I'm telling you, like they have a very, very deep roster. So I don't think they're going to lose many games when Brady's back in there. So it's going to give, if there's any struggles with Jimmy Garoppolo, it'll give a team like the Jets a chance. It hasn't been done in a while, and I don't believe that a team's going to steal the division from the Patriots. But I do like the Jets team as the second best in the division. I just think the Jets roster almost comparable to to the bats on both sides of the ball, and the difference is the quarterback, and obviously it makes a big difference. I think Buffalo's going to be competitive again. And then Miami, I don't really know what to expect because you have a first-year head coach, and they've had their struggles the last couple of years. So I think that's kind of like the hierarchy in the division.
We'll see how it plays out, Kevin. Training camp's just about done here. We're into the preseason games, and this is the time of year where we want this preseason to get through, want the start of the season to roll around. It'll happen sooner than later. Kevin Duffy, MassLive.com, covering New England. Thanks for joining us on Big Board Sports.
Hey, thanks, guys.